Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Indie Alaska is a groundbreaking series that dives into the lives of people living in the last frontier. Each episode introduces you to colorful characters from around the state. Funding for Indie Alaska is provided in part by Alyeska Pipeline Service Company. Catch the latest episodes at alaskapublic.org.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us here at KAKM for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting this evening's show. On the, quite a few zones here illuminated. Got coastal flood warnings out for the Yukon Delta coast, eastern Norton Sound, and the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula, and also winter storm warnings out here for the Noatak and Kobuk Valley areas there for the next, actually through tomorrow night, through Monday night until early Tuesday morning, for 1 to 2 feet of snow expected over the next day and a half here through those areas. And then down across the greater Galena area, that's a winter storm warning also for about 6 to 12 inches of snow over the same time period. And then coastal flood advisories out here for the Kuskokwim Delta, also a coastal flood advisory for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast. And then off to the east here, the Koyukuk and Central Interior, Koyukuk Valley and Central Interior. That's a winter weather advisory for lighter snow amounts in those areas, looking for 4 to 7 inches through this area. And then the southeastern Brooks Range, about the same thing, looking for 4 to 8 inches of snow to fall here over the next day and a half, and that's mostly where the heaviest amounts will be west of the Dalton Highway. And moving on to satellite imagery, this is the front moving inland that's responsible for all the warnings and advisories out here to the west, pulling out quite a ways from the main low center, which is back here over the north and northwest Bering Sea, with the main snow-producing area of precipitation right through here, right up to the Alaska Range area into the Kuskokwim Valley, and then back to the northwest. A lot of hike stuff coming out over toward the eastern border here and across Prince William Sound, but the front pulling out so far ahead of the low center. Pretty good break here behind the front with some clearing moving on to the southwest coast there, where temperatures were mild enough to produce rain with the front coming through right up to the Seward Peninsula. Seen some rain in the Nome area this afternoon, but pretty gusty winds up to 35 miles per hour here over the northwest interior, with snow and blowing snow reported at Kotzebue. Pribilof Islands here getting west-southwest winds gusting up to about 45 miles an hour, both at St. Paul and St. George Island this afternoon. And also pretty gusty winds here for the western Arctic coast, Kivalina, Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, seeing gusts 40 miles per hour or more throughout the day. And rolling this through one more time, you can see quite a bit of sunshine after the morning fog here across the southeast coast, but the high clouds spreading into the Yakutat area and eventually into the northern southeast coast. And then the breaks out here to the west. On the chart, one more loop here with that, and this low center tracking eastward and eventually taking a turn to the northeast with one center up over the Russian Far East, the front extending this afternoon down across Bristol Bay, and then snow into the mid-Tanana Valley areas of the central interior. Nenana seeing some snow, and up to the northwest with those gusty winds across the northwest interior. A few flurries along the Arctic coast, scattered showers out over the Bering Sea. And the sunshine again here with high pressure up over the Yukon. That produced gale force northerlies there in Lynn Canal earlier today. For tonight, look for fair conditions, kind of an increase in the mid and high level clouds there over the southeast coast, dry through the eastern interior areas. And then snow coming across south central Alaska, possible 2 to 4 inches of snow across areas, even a little bit more up into the Susitna Valley. The heavier snow fall back to the northwest along that front. Again, a little bit of a break behind it, and then more moisture coming in across the Yukon Delta, right up into the Seward Peninsula with those gusty southwest winds there. Some mixed rain and snow showers here from Kuskokwim Bay out toward the Pribilof Islands. And rain for the North Gulf Coast, kind of a mixed condition inland a little bit there with a chance of snow in over the Copper River Basin in areas there. And then another developing system right here spreading some rain up to the central in toward the eastern Aleutians later tonight while the Alaska Peninsula sees a break. And then looks like rain and gusty winds here for the well from Bristol Bay all the way out to the eastern Aleutians, and then a lot of moisture spreading eastward here over the western and southwest Bering Sea. That low center now lifting up just north of the Bering Strait by tomorrow afternoon, and that's going to keep the gusty winds with snow showers over the Seward Peninsula, areas of snow again in over the northwest interior. Better chance of snow here with the remnants of that front dissipating here, kind of swinging off to the northeast. That'll leave an area of snow over the eastern Arctic coast, trailing back into the Koyukuk Valley and linking up with the moisture to the west. And then that front spreads rain into the Panhandle during the day tomorrow with a break here. Snow showers in the morning, or rain and snow showers south central Alaska, diminishing in the afternoon. Could see some clearing here from about Kenai down to Homer, and then clouds spreading in across Kodiak Island with a chance of rain late in the day. And that low center pulls up to the northeast Gulf of Alaska with rain back into the Panhandle again, and some snow showers across the Prince William Sound area, Copper River Basin, locally back into northern Cook Inlet, and then also some scattered snow showers along the western Alaska Range. Upper level trough here keeping it snowy up over the Koyukuk Valley all the way out to Kotzebue Sound and the Seward Peninsula, and a band of snow along and just off the western Arctic coast there. Then that next system spreading rain and gusty winds again and across the Pribilof Islands right up towards St. Lawrence Island. The front trailing back across the western Aleutians. Temperatures this afternoon, lower 50s over the southern Panhandle, otherwise 40s to the north there. 41 at Yakutat, 36 degrees at Valdez, 37 both at Seward and Homer, otherwise much of Cook Inlet in the 20s today, as was the Susitna Valley. Chillier here over the Copper River Basin, 17 there at Gulkana, 15 at Delta with Tanana up to 22 degrees. And for the areas in the Koyukuk Valley, Bettles had 14 degrees, 7 at Anatuvik, 3 degrees at Arctic Village, and 9 degrees occurring at Nuiqsut, Dead Horse, and Kaktovik. And then into the lower to mid-teens here for the western Arctic coast, much milder off to the southwest. That's Cape Lisburne with 34 degrees. That same temperature matched at Shishmaref, Kotzebue at 24, 29 at Kivalina. Near 40 here in the southern Seward Peninsula coastline out to St. Lawrence Island, and temperatures over the interior range from 26 at McGrath to 37 at Bethel with lower 40s along the coast. Lower to mid 40s here over the Pribilof Islands, upper 40s out over the Aleutians with lower 50s, portions of the Alaska Peninsula. Lows tonight, coldest in the east, mildest here in the west and southwest with single numbers and teens warming into the mid 30s here. 40s out over the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow, 20s here for the Arctic coast and North Slope areas, a little cooler over the upper Yukon Valley, and then 20s here over the eastern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s out along the southwest coast, and 40s for the Panhandle and the Aleutians. Marginal VFR in the forecast tomorrow afternoon here from Dixon Entrance all the way up to Yakutat, then some VFR Copper River Basin locally into the upper Tanana Valley with IFR, pretty widespread area here with the snow from the Yukon Delta right up into the western and central interior areas all the way over to the southeastern Brooks Range with marginal VFR southward across the eastern Aleutians and more marginal conditions out over the western Aleutians. Anatuvik, look for possible IFR conditions on the southern entrance. That same forecast good for Adigan as well. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR tomorrow, possible IFR on both western approaches there. Rainy, same pattern there, lowest conditions on the western entrance, otherwise marginal. Windy looks marginal. Isabel, marginal VFR, but Mentasta will probably be VFR, as will Tanita. And Portage looking VFR, Chilkoot and White, both marginal. Freezing levels here, 2,000 feet up, well, right about the Yukon Delta, southern areas there, then back down across the Barren Islands into the southern Panhandle, 4,000 feet here over the eastern Aleutian areas. And for icing, below about 9,000 feet, light to isolated, very isolated moderate rime or mixed icing for the Panhandle. Could be some widespread moderate rime icing here coming into the Alaska Peninsula. Areas of icing up here over the northwest interior, Seward Peninsula areas from the Chukchi Sea down into Norton Sound, and then some more moisture spreading into the far western Aleutians and the Komodorskis. Winds aloft, jet stream here. 60 knots over the central Aleutians and southwesterlies at about 120 here into Bristol Bay, taking a dive to the southeast here, just off the southeast coast at about 100 knots. 9,000 foot winds, pretty brisk, 40 to 50 knots here with that low center lifting northward there toward the Bering Strait. Westerlies 30 to 35 knots over the northern Bering Sea, pretty light over southwest Alaska or southeast Alaska. Westerlies 25 to 30 knots for the Aleutians, turning south at 35 across Bristol Bay. And 3,000 foot winds showing a low center there southeast of the Pribilofs, and southwesterly winds 30 to 35 knots along the Alaska Peninsula. 30 to 40 knot winds here from the Yukon Delta right up into the western Brooks Range area. Lighter winds over the east and southeast interior, but still up to 30 knots over the upper Yukon Valley. Pretty brisk winds here along the Gulf of Alaska heading in toward the southeast coast. Turbulence-wise, most of the choppiness will stay off the coast there. Could just graze Prince of Wales Island there into Dixon Entrance, but smooth over the southeast interior. Occasional moderate chop here over the northwest areas to Norton Sound, also the Alaska Peninsula, all the way out to the eastern Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
ISMA, the International Snowmobile Manufacturers Association, whose members are Artco, Bombardier, Polaris, and Yamaha, is proud to present Safe Riders. You make snowmobiling safe. To truly enjoy snowmobiling, it's important to take your time and get used to the machine and how it reacts on the snow. There are a few key things that will provide you better control and assist you in mastering driving techniques. There are 4 common riding positions: sitting, kneeling, standing, and posting. Each is designed to work best for specific situations. Sitting is the most common riding position. With your feet flat on the running boards and the footwells, they can work like shocks to absorb the bumps. Sitting keeps your weight low and easy to shift. This is the recommended position for carrying passengers if your snowmobile is designed for carrying a passenger. The kneeling position is best for side hilling and steep grades. The increased height helps at road crossings. It does take some getting used to, so practice it at a slow speed. Standing is used when greater visibility is required. It's used at road crossings. Posting is a semi-sitting position that allows the legs to work as shock absorbers in rough and washboard terrain. Regardless of which position you choose to ride, never stick your feet out to assist with turning or stopping. Shifting your weight on a snowmobile provides you better control while negotiating corners and hills. By leaning into a turn, this transfers your body weight to the inside of the machine, providing better traction for a more controlled turn. When side hilling, assume the kneeling position and lean into the hill to place pressure on the uphill side of the track. If the snowmobile has been designed and built for a passenger, and you're going to carry a passenger, be sure to explain to them that he or she should lean with you on corners and hills. As well, inform the passengers to always hold on to either the passenger hand grips or seat strap, and to never let his or her feet come off the running boards. As a general rule of operation, always ride with a buddy that has their own separate machine. As you ride more, you will encounter many different types of terrain and be required to perform maneuvers that call for specific know-how. Here's an overview of how to handle some of the most common. Hill riding requires proper leaning and throttle control to be handled successfully. When going up a hill, lean forward on the machine and provide enough throttle to get you to the top. stay to the right, and never stop on the hill. If you stop while going uphill, you may find you dig in and get stuck. When riding downhill, loss of control is the hazard awaiting the inexperienced. While in the sitting position, pump the brake off and on to establish a safe, controlled speed of descent. Be careful not to lock up your track and go into a skid. Keep the clutch engaged while on the downhill to prevent the track from freewheeling and losing control. There is a rhythm of brake and gas that needs to be established. If you're at the top of a hill with other snowmobiles coming up, it's a good idea to allow them to pass you before you attempt to go down. Road crossings are common when riding. At these intersections, you must come to a complete stop. Always make sure there are no vehicles coming from any direction before crossing. When clear, cross at a 90-degree angle, the shortest path across. In group riding, the leader will cross first and then direct the remaining riders as to when they can cross safely. Oftentimes, large snowbanks line both sides of the roadway, forcing snowmobilers to come down off one only to climb up another on the other side of the road. To come off the bank, post and lean into the top of the bank as you descend. Never attempt this if a vehicle is approaching. Climb the snowbank, post, lean into the bank, and apply only enough throttle to climb the bank. Remember, skis and tracks do not respond to pavement as they do on snow. Your steering is very limited, so always cross at a 90-degree angle. The rules surrounding riding on roadways are different everywhere you go, so check locally for details. Where riding on roadways is permitted, the same laws apply to a snowmobile as they apply to a car. No drinking and driving, no speeding, and adhere to the local signage. Remember, you must obey school bus lights and give the proper right-of-way. When approaching a railway crossing, a safe rider stops completely and checks both ways to ensure no train is coming. Never trust signal lights. Always check for yourself. When it comes to riding frozen lakes and rivers, you must use the utmost care. Traveling on ice can be dangerous. Ride with a buddy and know before you go. Always check with local clubs or authorities for the ice conditions. The very nature of ice is foreign to good control of a snowmobile. Steering is minimal, and uncontrolled spins are an ever-present danger. Beware of ice pressure ridges, thin ice, and open water. If you fall through the ice, the proper way to get out is to elevate yourself at the ice edge and get your stomach out first. Then, pull yourself forward or roll away from the hole until it is safe to stand. If you ride on ice, you may want to consider carrying a tool to assist in pulling yourself out and away from the hole. Drowning is a leading cause of snowmobile fatalities, so if you don't know, don't go. Also, the presence of previous tracks does not ensure a safe route across ice. The mountains are known for the incredibly deep powder they can provide snowmobilers. This calls for a different style of riding and some additional knowledge on the rider's part. Avalanches can occur, so it's wise to check in with local authorities. When snowmobiling in mountainous regions, always carry equipment such as probes, shovels, and locators. When riding at night, the first thing you want to do is slow down. A safe rider knows his visibility is limited by the beam of his snowmobile's headlight. Excessive speed for conditions will leave insufficient reaction time to negotiate corners and other surprises you may be faced with. All lights must be in excellent working order and should be checked while riding to remove any snow buildup. If you ride at night, ride with another snowmobiler. Carry a flashlight and flare. The idea is see and be seen. If you stop at night, always pull off the trail. At some point in your riding career, you will get stuck. This is something that can be easily handled if you're prepared. A safe rider will have a buddy to assist in getting the sled out of trouble. First, you lift the back end onto new ground to allow the track better traction. Clear away any excess snow from under the front. Next, apply power to get out and slowly accelerate. It may take a couple of tries, but it works great. Remember, ride with another snowmobile. If your problems are more serious, he or she can always help pull you out using a rope or go for help. Riding with passengers brings additional responsibility. Both riders need to be sure the snowmobile is designed for two riders. You should be aware of the need to hold on securely at all times to keep their feet on the running boards. They should also know how to lean properly while riding. Drivers should always be in control and never attempt anything risky. All riders should be dressed and protected appropriately. A safe rider can make snowmobiling safe for the entire family. Zero tolerance means no alcohol while driving. Without a doubt, snowmobiling is a great social opportunity. But equally as firm are the statistics that reveal alcohol is the #1 contributing factor in snowmobile accidents and fatalities. More and more, the sport is becoming a family recreational pastime. It's not a place for people who are not in control. Distorted perception means you may not see what is ahead. Impaired coordination and a slower reaction time means you may not be able to avoid what's coming ahead. And losing one's natural sense of caution put you and others in a situation you may not live to tell about. Zero tolerance is the only right way to ensure your mind stays sharp and you stay in control of your machine. The partners in ISMA hope that you will find this video helpful. Some points you will use immediately and every day. Others you may not encounter for a while. Rest assured that as you keep riding, this great sport will keep you out on the trails, lure you to other destinations where new and exciting experiences exist. Your knowledge will provide you confidence, which will make your snowmobiling that much more enjoyable. Gliding down groomed trails, experiencing winter's incredible beauty, and riding responsibly with confidence that you know what you're doing is what makes snowmobiling such a great pastime. The pleasure we experience is individual, as are the responsibilities. Remember, safe riders, you make snowmobiling safe. Remember to join a club or association to make new friends and keep on top of all the fun activities that are going on. For information in Canada, contact the Canadian Council of Snowmobile Organizations, 106 Saunders Road, Unit 12, Barrie, Ontario, L4M 6E7, area code 705-725-1121. For information in the United States, contact the American Council of Snowmobile Associations at 271 Woodland Pass, Suite 216, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823, area code 517-351-4362. The members of ISMA, Artco, Bombardier, Polaris, and Yamaha hope you've enjoyed this video presentation and enjoy snowmobiling. Remember, safe riders, you make snowmobiling safe.
It's 25 knots out along the coast for tomorrow. The sea's running at about 11 feet. Over the inside waters, winds more variable and much lighter, just 10 to 15 knots. And for Tuesday, we've got some gales here for the central and north coast there from southeast to southwest, and southwesterlies at 30 knots for the south coast. Small craft advisories, south to southeast winds here from Clarence Strait right up into northern Lynn Canal, with seas running about 5 feet. And then for the Prince William Sound zone tomorrow, variable winds at 10 knots, variable to south or southwest at 10 for northern Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories here from the Barren Islands across the North Gulf Coast, 25 to 30 knot winds there with 9 to 10 foot seas. Southwesterlies at about 20 knots for Shelikof Strait there in the east side of Kodiak Island with 5 to 8 foot seas. Then we've got some gales in store for especially the east side of Kodiak Island, westerlies at 45 knots. Small craft advisory, Shelikof Strait, Barren Islands right up into southern Cook Inlet. Northwesterlies at 30 knots, northwest 40 for the Barrens. Easterlies at 35 knots for the North Gulf Coast, and small craft advisories for Prince William Sound. And for Bristol Bay tomorrow, south 25, 9-foot seas. South winds 40 knots here, the Bering Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula with small craft advisories elsewhere. And for Tuesday, westerlies at 25 knots, pick up to 40 knots here from Chignik up to Sitkinak, and southwesterlies at about 30 knots on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Pretty brisk westerlies coming up for Bristol Bay with 11-foot seas. And for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, depending on the exact track of that low center, northwesterlies 25 knots, to the north there, northeast at 30, but small craft advisories nonetheless. 20 to 35 knot winds for the central Aleutians, small craft advisories for the western areas. And then it looks like small craft advisories and minimum gales here for the central and western Aleutians. Otherwise, 20 to 25 knot winds from the south and southwest there for the Fox Islands with seas running 8 to 11 feet. And for the southwest coast, southwest winds at 30 with 12 to 18-foot seas. St. Lawrence Island southwesterlies of 40 knots with 17-foot seas. Lighter winds coming down to 20 knots for the Pribilofs with seas at about 12 feet, while the northern Bering Sea looking westerly at 25. And for Tuesday, small craft advisories here from St. Lawrence Island all the way down the southwest coast there with seas running 9 to 10 feet. Small craft advisories also in the forecast for the Pribilofs and the northern Bering Sea. For the eastern Arctic coast, easterly winds 15 to 20 knots, lightest there toward demarcation point. Then we get into the brisk wind advisories there for the central coast, small craft advisories for the western Arctic coast all the way down to the Bering Strait. And for Tuesday, westerlies of 15 here from Wales up to Cape Beaufort, then area of easterly winds, northeast 20 for the western coast, heavy freezing spray in that area as well. Easterlies 20 knots for the central coast, and south to southeast 15 to 20 knots for the eastern coastline. And for tonight, again, that front pushing eastward, bringing some snow across south central Alaska into the central interior, back to the northwest, the western Arctic coast, with some more moisture and gusty winds coming across the Bering Sea and toward Norton Sound. Then rain spreads into the Panhandle tomorrow. Another system brings rain and wind here into the Alaska Peninsula from Bristol Bay back out toward the eastern Aleutians. Snowy up here again. The winter storm warnings remain out there from Galena up across the Noatak Valley. And then for Tuesday, that system pushes more wind and rain in toward the Panhandle again with some gale force winds and snow showers over south central Alaska and an area of snow continuing.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.